Max Bankman, I'm the new doctor.
Welcome aboard the Odyssey.
ABC Thursdays.
This ship is heaven. We're tending to our passengers' dreams. I'm in.
From 911 executive producer Ryan Murphy comes a splashy new drama on a luxury cruise ship with Joshua Jackson and Don Johnson.
It's your job to keep everyone alive.
She's in VFib. 1, 2, 3. Clear.
I have a pulse.
You're going to be okay.
Dr. Odyssey. Thursdays, 9/8 Central on ABC and stream on Hulu.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. With Cybersecurity Awareness Month winding down, LifeLock wants to remind you to update your software. These updates will patch up security issues that identity thieves can exploit to gain access to your personal info. For comprehensive identity theft protection, there's LifeLock. LifeLock alerts you to more uses of your personal info and fixes issues that arise. Protect your identity today with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com/podcast.
Streaming only on Peacock.
Being with Finch felt like I was in some fairy tale.
She's like, I write for Grey's Anatomy. I was like, what?
Her writing was so highly regarded because Finch had been through so much.
A Hollywood writer's life.
When you love somebody, you'll ignore red flags so they're hitting you in the head.
Filled with fiction.
She would do whatever it takes to get ahead.
She saw her like a TV series.
I don't know who my wife is.
Anatomy of Lies. Streaming October 15th. Only on Peacock.
It was all a lie.
Before we jump in, this program contains material that may be unsuitable for some listeners. The content includes descriptions of violence, discussions about sex, and mental illness. We strongly recommend that listeners who are sensitive to these topics or are under 18 years of age refrain from listening. By continuing to listen, you acknowledge and accept this. All right, let's get started. Elliot wakes up at 4 a.m. It's summer 2008. He gets up, quietly dresses himself, and tiptoes down the stairs. Elliot's state of mind has become more and more apparent to his parents lately. He isolates himself. He's angry. And they think this is not something that would just go away on its own. Elliot slowly, quietly descends the stairs. He doesn't want to wake anyone. His parents have decided that he should go to Morocco with his father's wife, Sumaya, whom Elliot hates. He can't understand how this would help him. He'll be more alone in Morocco than in the U.S. But he's gone along with it, and now he's sneaking slowly through the large house. Here's Brian Whitney again, who wrote the book The Supreme Gentleman Killer, which is about Elliot Rodger.
The morning when he was supposed to leave, he just went to the front door and then just took off like running.
His father suspected that Elliot didn't really want to go. So the front door is alarmed. And as soon as Elliot opens it and runs out, the alarm goes off. His father chases after him, catches Elliot, and brings him back home.
They put him on the plane. He just basically flipped out. He even when he was over there, he basically cried all the time. While he was there with Sumaya and her grandmother, and he's 17 or 18 years old at this point.
Things don't go well in Morocco. Elliot is sad, depressed, and will later describe this as a disaster, feeling that in Morocco, the little life left in him disappeared.
He always feels like this, but then it seems through each period of his life, he feels like this is something new and different, because of the circumstance, and never really is able to figure out that the only constant in this is him.
You are listening to The Incel Killer, a story in 5 parts about how a young man could develop such a hatred towards people in general and women in particular that he decides to kill them all. My name is Jonathan Rollins, and I'll be narrating this series. And if you like this series, don't forget to follow us so you'll know as soon as we release a new episode. But now let's begin. This is Chapter 3, Alpha Dog. There are many students moving around the campus. They talk to each other, laugh, nervous. Some have been there for a while. Others are just starting. Elliot walks around slowly. He's finished high school and is now about to start college. He's starting here at Pierce College.
What's special about Pierce College is the way we care about our students.
It's a beautiful campus, lots of trees, lots of picturesque views and spots to hang out as a student.
With all those services, there is no way, for you not to succeed.
It's common for many to attend here before moving on to a more traditional university.
People here love to teach, and they love students. We'll do almost anything for our students to help them succeed.
A few weeks earlier, Elliot had stood with his mom and dad, saying he wanted to talk to them.
He's like, not only tells his parents, but tells himself that it's time for college. That's all in the past. High school was rough, but now it's a whole new start.
Elliot tells them that he hopes things will be different now, that starting college means new people. He can be a new person. Nobody knows him, and he hopes things will get better. He convinces himself of this, and he wants his parents to know it.
No one's going to know who I am when I go to college. If I just go at it, with a new attitude and start afresh, then things will play out better. And he convinces, he's always kind of manipulating his parents to a certain extent.
Deep down, he finds it hard to believe there will be a change, but he hopes.
Elliot is moving forward and is going to actually make some positive changes in his life to make himself happier. It's at least what everyone's telling themselves.
And now here he is at Pierce College. He signed up for a course, and today is the first day. He doesn't have a driver's license, so he gets off the bus and walks slowly toward the entrance to register. He feels nervous, but he still thinks things seem different. He thinks, in this environment, they can't tease me. At least it doesn't seem that way. So despite being nervous, he feels safe.
So I think to him, he's okay, I'm going to give this one last shot.
To make things different, he thinks he first needs to change how others perceive him. His appearance, new clothes, sunglasses, and a new hairstyle. He must get a driver's license and drive a nice car. He wants to do these things to feel a little better, but he doesn't address the internal problems, only the external ones.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. With Cybersecurity Awareness Month winding down, LifeLock wants to remind you to update your software. These updates will patch up security issues that identity thieves can exploit to gain access to your personal info. For comprehensive identity theft protection, there's LifeLock. LifeLock alerts you to more uses of your personal info and fixes issues that arise. Protect your identity today with a 30-day free trial at lifelock.com/podcast.
I'm making some serious changes in life. He's not changing anything about his inside of himself, which is what the incels would call a cope, is what he's basically doing right now.
Using incel terminology, Elliot has taken the black pill, which means he believes there's practically nothing he can do to succeed with women. Because of this, there's only one thing he can do, and that is to cope. This means temporarily making himself feel a little better, like getting a nice haircut, working out at the gym, or driving a nice car.
I'll buy expensive clothes so that they wouldn't know that, he wouldn't be lame anymore. It's hey, look who this cool kid, who's the cool kid, kind of vibe is what he was envisioning.
And this is what he imagines when he sees himself in the mirror, with a new hairstyle and new clothes.
It's almost like a reboot in his mind, you know what I mean? So yeah, he's just thinking that with this new look and new positive attitude that he'll meet a girlfriend, he'll have friends, and everything will be cool.
He creates a Facebook profile and starts posting positive things about himself, trying by all means to elevate his status. In doing so, he becomes obsessed with the idea of gaining power and control. But how is he going to achieve that?
He's obsessed with gaining power, but he also thinks that a lot of that has to do with like having money. He, in his mind, he's like, again, looking at his dad. His dad wasn't totally rich, but he had like a nice house and he had a decent career, and his dad always had like good-looking women. And
while Elliot observes his father's life and tries to figure out how to get a girl, he starts stalking people he doesn't know on Facebook and reading about their lives. In the fall of 2008, he reads about a house party not far from where he lives and decides to go. Maybe he can finally meet a girl to have sex with, or at least get some form of positive recognition. He goes to the party, stands outside the house, his heart pounding, nervous, but he forces himself to go in. It's a small party. Elliot hangs around, knowing no one. Everyone else seems to know each other. He stands out. No one says hi. No one talks to him. He stays for maybe a minute before fleeing. Elliot jogs home, feeling dejected. A car approaches behind him. The window rolls down, and someone throws eggs at him. The car drives on. The eggs miss, but Elliot is still furious. He has a knife in his pocket. Takes it out and screams. The car stops. They get out and walk towards him. Elliot stands on the roadside, knife in hand, yelling at the young guys approaching him. They hesitate, then slowly retreat to the car and drive away. Elliot remains there, and afterwards, he becomes obsessed with this incident. He feels he was attacked because he looked weak and was alone. And as many times before, he now tries to find a new strategy to handle the anxiety. He doesn't have much faith in the future.
he doesn't seem to think he has any ability to get a job or make money like himself. And he thought at one point about like writing a book and becoming like a millionaire because he like wrote a book.
He doesn't believe he will get a good job and thereby gain money and power.
But then he realized that could take like a couple of years, to become a millionaire writing a book. And that he didn't have time, for that.
Elliot is still studying, but now it's time for him to transfer to a university instead of college. He feels ready. He sits at home thinking about where he could start. He remembers a movie he saw a couple years ago, Alpha Dog.
We were all kids from good families. We played together. We grew up together. And in 1999, every day I'm hustling. We were all living our own version of the American dream.
But there's a character in the movie that's just like partying and having a good time. And it was filmed in Santa Barbara. So in his mind, he saw this guy, in the movie that he watched like numerous times, like partying and hooking up with women and having a good time in Santa Barbara. So he starts thinking to himself, he starts envisioning himself like, oh, if I'm in Santa Barbara or in that general area, that's the lifestyle that I could lead.
Elliot searches the internet for different universities and finds one, Santa Barbara College. He looks for nearby towns and finds Isla Vista.
He's like, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to school. I saw this movie where this guy partied really hard and, met all sorts of chicks. And that's going to be my life.
So Elliot's going to start at Santa Barbara College and move to the coastal town of Isla Vista.
He drives off to go to school. He's very nervous.
He meets his dad, who's helping him move into his new apartment. They carry things inside. Elliot shares the apartment with two others. He talks a bit with his roommates. They seem okay. Elliot and his dad go out for lunch, and then it's time to say goodbye. For the first time in his life, Elliot is alone, and he is terrified.
I thought that by putting him out there and giving him independence, and integrating him into a normal society would very quickly help develop the skills that I thought was lacking in him.
Here's Elliot's father again, from ABC, interviewed by Barbara Walters.
Did you inform anyone, either at the college or the parents of his roommates, that he had mental problems?
I didn't see any reason to, because as far as I was concerned, he wasn't a threat to himself or anybody else.
He was very young, his parents, took care of, everything for him, setting up his appointments, day-to-day stuff, he'd never really worked or anything, no real interactions with people, and all of a sudden he's going to, Santa Barbara. I've been to Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara and Isla Vista are beautifully situated right by the Pacific Ocean, with beaches, bars, and a vibrant student town. Lots of people, lots of young people.
For somebody that's isolated and shy, it's not like going to some small town, university environment that's insulated. There's a lot happening there.
Yes, it's a lively and thriving student town. And that is, as we know, not something Elliot feels comfortable with. So he feels scared, but he tries to convince himself of something entirely different.
I was giving the world one last chance to give me the life that I know I'm entitled to, the life that other boys and girls are able to live with ease.
For Elliot, this is like giving the world one last chance, giving everything one last chance.
He wasn't thinking that he needed to change. He was giving in his mind, the world is like Santa Barbara, but he's giving the world one last chance to change to the way he wants it to be.
But his first night doesn't go well. He lies in bed and hears other students in the hallway outside. They're partying, shouting, and seem to be having a lot of fun. He doesn't feel ready.
He's describing his heart like thumping in his chest as he laid there in his little room, listening to kids outside having fun, which is in theory the whole reason that he came there.
He wonders if he'll ever be able to be that person outside having fun, or if he'll always hide in his bed, alone and terrified.
And then he heard people having sex in the apartment above him the same night too, and that just angered him beyond belief. So in his mind, it's already a disaster right away. He just gets there. He doesn't have any sense that maybe 2 days from now he could be partying or having sex. He's just oh, I just got here and people are already partying and having sex, and I hate it.
I would say to him, there is no shame at all in not losing your virginity at a later age. Some people never do.
Here's Elliot's father again.
Some people go into the church and choose chastity.
He would say, I can't get a girlfriend?
He would say, they're never going to like me because I'm not 6'2", a jock, sporty guy. He did say to me once, I wish I wasn't half Asian. I never realized that he was so racist.
Thinking, why aren't I white?
Correct.
The stress of being a virgin, the stress of people partying in the hallways, the stress of others having sex makes Elliot upset. He sees it as them mocking him, but it's not just this that makes him angry.
This kid's name's Chance, and throughout this book, there's a lot of there's a lot of racism that comes out with him, in his writings. He writes a lot about, he'll get more upset if he sees say a Mexican guy with a girl. He'll even make fun of Asians, even though that's what I mean. He's part Asian, and so Chance is a black kid, and that a black kid that wasn't particularly good looking, according to Elliot.
Elliot has something he calls his manifesto, which essentially is a diary where he writes about his life. Elliot writes that he thinks Chance is an arrogant guy, a person who thinks he's something special.
And one day, the first couple of days, Chance with the other two roommates around, and Chance was, he started telling everybody how well he did with girls.
Then Elliot asked everyone in the room if they're all virgins.
He described it that they all looked at him like he was really weird, and they all said they'd lost their virginity a long time ago. Chance said that he lost his virginity when he was only 13 and said that he lost it to a blonde white girl.
And that's when Elliot breaks. He stands up, screams that they're all lying, and storms out in tears.
I mean, he wrote at that point, "How could an inferior, ugly black boy be able to get a white girl and not me? I am beautiful, and I'm half white myself. I am descended from British aristocracy. He's descended from slaves." So yes, so just hates Chase.
After that, Elliot asks his father to find him a new place to live. But at this new place, something even worse is about to happen. Something no one can imagine as the clock strikes 8 in the morning and Elliot gets up. For once, he feels a bit confident.
And this is, the very next day after he cried because of Chase, telling him he had sex with a blonde girl.
He puts on a new shirt, hops into his car, and drives to school. When he arrives, he walks past some girls. Imagining that they're attracted to him, that they like his shirt, that they're fascinated by him. Elliot gives a very confident look and tries to make eye contact as he walks by, but they don't notice him. He gets irritated, but won't let it ruin his day. He enters the classroom, chooses a seat, and as soon as he sits down, a group of guys, the popular type, come and sit next to him. This is the type of guy Elliot has despised his entire life. He hates them because he can never become one of them. But he doesn't give up. He thinks this is his last chance to make things right. He walks around the campus, seeing lots of beautiful girls everywhere. He wants to approach them, but his usual self emerges. The fresh start falters, and he thinks they would just find him weird. So Elliot goes to buy coffee.
He's in line at Starbucks.
In front of him is a couple making out.
And his thing is always why are they doing this to me? So he's not just enraged because this is happening. He's taking it as they're making out in part to piss him off,
As always, Elliot takes the couple's public display of affection as a personal affront, as if they are doing it to disturb him.
So he follows them to their car.
He approaches them and pours his coffee all over them.
After he threw the coffee on the guy yelled at him and Elliot ran away. He got in his car and he was shaking with excitement, but he was also thrilled because he had actually struck back, he had done something, to stand up for himself against all this oppression that he's feeling by these popular people. And
I'm just sitting in my car right now, enjoying the view of the beach. And my view has been ruined by this sight right here.
This is Elliot speaking in one of his YouTube videos.
In front of me, sitting right there on that bench, is a young couple.
He's sitting in his car, watching a couple on a park bench a little further away.
They're kissing right now. It's torture for me to watch, but I have to do this.
Emboldened by the incident, it's at this moment that he starts feeling he should have done more than just pour coffee. He feels he should have gone further.
He starts thinking about how he can actually he wants to have power over these people and maybe even kill them. And he even wrote at this point he's writing in his manifesto about how he wanted to torture them, rip the skin off of their bones. He's going into some really, really dark places.
We talked about Elliot's fear of turning 13, how intense it was. His fear of being expected to kiss a girl, or even worse, have sex with a girl. The fear that he felt then is nothing compared to what he feels now. He is terrified, angry, furious, and full of hate. He is 20 years old and still a virgin.
So after he splashes the coffee on these two people, he spent, according to him, but I mean, he spent like 5 days in his room, just like, looking out his window, like seeing young people hanging out together, having fun, laughing, like while I rotted in my bed alone. And he starts to fantasize about like going into people's rooms while they're having sex and killing them with a knife.
It's now that he starts to seriously formulate his thoughts on revenge in his manifesto. So far, no one else knows about this manifesto, but the pages are filling up more and more as he writes. In his writings, he gives his revenge a name, the Day of Retribution.
So he's realized at this point that his whole plan of like going to college and reinventing himself is a complete failure. It's like nothing's changed, and in fact everything's worse, because with him it continually gets worse because being a virgin and not having a girlfriend at like 15 is a lot different than 20, and like I'm sure like he's envisioning being like 25, and that's just absolutely unbelievable for him to even like imagine.
Elliot's hope that things will change has gone to hell, and he now writes that he wants revenge for all that he's had to endure, all the injustice directed at him by women and society.
He's saying, I'm going to choose a day, I'm going to arm myself, and I'm going to make everyone suffer, and he's going to wage a war against all women and slaughter them like the animals that they are. And basically, if they don't accept me, this is what he's saying, they're my enemies.
And when Elliot starts to formulate these thoughts, it all breaks loose within him. He begins to feel it's not just a thought about something he wants to do, it's a thought about something he should do, and something he will do.
He never actually tries in any way that anyone would consider like a normal way. Like, he never asks anyone out on a date. He never, there's not like once that he asks anyone out on a date. He basically just walks around like wearing like big sunglasses and like trying to look cool, and then he'll sit on a bench and stare at people, and he's just waiting for a woman to approach him. So
you deserve to be annihilated, and I will give that to you. You never showed me any mercy, and so I will show you none. I hate all of you. Humanity is a disgusting, wretched, depraved species.
In the next episode, he spends more and more time online.
Like, he'd found a community now where like he could say all his weird stuff, and people are like, yeah, you're right.
Elliot is drunk and walks into a party.
He got into an altercation verbally with a couple of girls, and then he was picked on, and then he was thrown off the balcony.
You just listened to the third chapter of The Incel Killer, a podcast series in 5 chapters. My name is Jonathan Rollins. The series is made by Jens Nielsen and Tomas Rajnai. The executive producer is Tove Friman Leffler. And don't forget to follow the podcast so you can keep track of when new episodes are released. This is a production of PodLit.